Hello, so today I am coming on here and I am going to talk with my hands a lot apparently because it's a nervous tick of mine, but we're going to talk about alchemy. And first of all, my name is Mariah. This is Kaladar Creations, and let's just dive into it. So first of all, what is alchemy? Alchemy in a literal sense is turning lead into gold. And I feel like there is a much, much deeper meaning to that where we can translate that in a more spiritual way or a psychological way or however you want to view it, ultimately in a way that helps us get to know ourselves deeper and to transform our pain, our struggles in life into gold, into lessons, into rich soil that could help nourish whatever it is that we're growing. So I deeply believe that every single thing in life holds the opportunity to be our teacher. Every circumstance, every person, everything can teach us if we learn how to listen, how to be attuned to the language of the universe, of source. I feel sometimes corny when I say the language of the universe, when I use the word alchemy, because I feel like we're in an era right now where these words are really overused. And it's interesting because I feel like it's both beautiful that such potent knowledge is becoming more mainstream, that more people are getting exposed to this information, but there is a cringe aspect to it that I experience where I feel like a lot of people are using it as a show and it's not actually like grounded. And I feel like we can throw the words manifestation, we can throw the words alchemy around and they're very empty and hollow and there's not really depth to them. I feel like a lot of the times we can orient towards manifestation in a way that doesn't actually hold responsibility, that isn't grounded. I notice often in spiritual communities, there's a lot of fluff. I feel like there's big spiritual egos where people take these powerful tools as just accessories to make themselves look better. Side note, not to hate on accessories, your girl loves to adorn herself in accessories, I really do, but just trying to find a metaphor for how to explain this. Just speaking from my experience, and I know other people can relate to this, there is something within my gut that I can feel when people are speaking from a space that doesn't feel actually truthful. It feels deceitful. It's hard to explain, but I can notice something in my gut feels a little weary of this situation. And it's not even just what is being spoken, because I have experienced many people speaking things that I do resonate with. Like I understand the words they're saying and I feel them to be true, but there's something a little bit off about the space that the words are being spoken from. Anywho, that's another topic for another day. I just wanted to express that I noticed some cringe when I share these things because of this. Ultimately just grounding into there feels truth in these. Like I do believe in alchemy and I wish to just talk about it. And that's what we're gonna do here today. I have my journal. I love this journal. It's so beautiful. Not like, oh my God. Did you guys just see that butterfly? It makes me want to cry. I'm literally gonna cry right now, guys. Stuff like that makes me so happy. Anywho, this beautiful journal is gonna support me in this discussion because truthfully, I still feel a little bit shy in front of the camera, and I don't feel shy when I just like pour my heart and everything onto these pages. So we're gonna do a little bit of both, you know, here. But basically, I wanna talk about alchemy, and I'm gonna talk about it using examples from my own life, using a situation that has just recently unfolded for me. And this is basically a process that I do with most everything in life, and I do it in my journal, I do it when I'm in contemplation, and I find it to be incredibly supportive because I really do believe that we can talk so much about alchemy, but to actually practice it is another thing. To actually distill the gold from the lead, to distill the lessons from the suffering, I feel that we must understand it, and to understand it on a deeper level, we must really look at it, to really try to peel back our own judgments, our own feelings of shame when we're evaluating the situation, because I feel like we can go into evaluation and be like, oh, I did this wrong, fuck me, yada yada yada. And it's like peeling that back and just looking at it very objectively, being a witness of what is unfolding, so that we're not so attached to the experience, so that we can really evaluate the context from a more zoomed out perspective to recognize the lessons in what has just unfolded. So I could give you so many examples, but I'm just going to talk about this recent experience here. And just to give you some context, I am traveling right now. I am in Pai, Thailand. So beautiful. Very, very incredibly happy to be here. That's besides the point. But when I first got here, before I got here actually, I knew that I was going to be staying for at least a month, and I wanted to secure a place. I felt a bit uncomfortable with going out there without having a place secured for a longer time frame, and feeling like if I secured it now right away, aka like in the past when I was doing this, I felt that if I secured it, then I would get a better deal. So I found a place on Airbnb, and I ended up messaging them and booking to stay for a month. The place was, you know, good in many ways, but there were a lot of things about it that just felt really out of resonance with what I actually wanted. One of them definitely being that there was no hot water and there was very little privacy. The place was right next to the owner's place, and him and her like sat out on the porch all the time, and I just personally don't like that. I like to have more privacy, so I felt like I had no privacy because there was like no curtains and you could just see me all the time in my place. That just felt not really what I was looking for, and a few other things. But most of all, the rent was much cheaper than what I paid in the United States, but I learned it was way more, like 4 times more than what most people are paying for the same situation out here. So ultimately the situation is a little bit of a scam. I don't really like to call it a scam. I guess like they're running an Airbnb situation, so it's that's their hustle, you know, it is what it is. But like I just could have waited and found something much better, which fast forward I did. So as time went on and I made friends and talked to them about their housing situations, I really started to recognize this and feel like I really wanted to move out of this space. And the biggest thing for me, I mean, the money was one, but especially not having hot water, and for paying like 4 times what people are for 1 month and not having hot water when my friends were paying way less, felt kind of silly. I ended up talking to her and made the choice to move out of this place. So I stayed there for 2 weeks, and then I found another place that I thought I was gonna move into, but there was another place that I would drive by on the way to my original place. It was literally 1 minute away. Like I can actually see the other place right now here as we're talking. I drive by it and it's so beautiful, and every time I drive by it, I'd be like, wow, I would have loved to stay there. That place is probably so expensive. So when I was originally looking for a place to move to, I didn't even initially ask this place because I just kind of thought it would be expensive, I assumed. Eventually, I said, fuck it, and I went in and asked this place what the cost was, and it was way significantly less, 3 times less than what I was paying, and it was literally a minute away. So beautiful, so peaceful. I love it. That's where I am right now. I'm finally like settled in here. I've been here for like 4 days or so, and this is literally everything I wanted. Like I'm surrounded by nature, peaceful, private, cozy, comfy, clean, hot water, all the things. Anywho, that's a little context for the situation. And now let's dive in and distill, like, what can I learn from this experience? Because there are multiple things that I've learned through this. So first point is that the first place seemed like what I wanted. And I find this to be kind of funny because it's very similar to the place that I actually am staying at right now. Like literally in distance, it's 1 minute away. Also on the inside, there's similar like paintings. There's similar woodwork on the railings on the porch. And I find the similarity to be interesting. And I noticed this a lot in life. How on the surface, like what we think we desire and what we truly desire resemble each other in ways. I'm gonna read my journal a little bit now. I feel like I explain it way better in here. So its similar resemblance feels to be a taste of the evidence that manifestation is true. Some may perceive its seeming nature as trickery, but I see it as proof that we can create our life and a call to go deeper within, to create with more consciousness and clarity. If that which unfolds is similar to that which is desired, yet not quite, there is something deeper that wants to be fulfilled. It lies beyond the surface, and it requires a more attuned sense of listening. So circle back. Something in my gut felt a bit off. about the whole first place, yet it seemed like what I was looking for, and it helped soothe the subtle fear I felt about coming out here without a place secured. So now we get into the second layer. The avoidance of a perceived lack of security tends to orient us to situations that seemingly satisfy the surface, yet block the momentum towards deeper fulfillment. It can be viewed as simple physics in a way. The source in which a movement is made from draws like to it. When a choice is made from a space that lacks security, its consequences will mirror it. And if you listen closely through this reflection, you will recognize its source. So when a movement is made, there exists some sense of reality in its ripples. Yet our tendency is to get so fixated on the texture of the ripples. And by texture, I mean the feeling, the context, the details. Getting caught in the current, we allow ourselves to be removed from the source, which can be taken two ways: from the source of who we are at a very deep level, but what I'm talking about here is from the source of the consequence. You see, if it is a movement made from fear, its ripples will resemble the fear. When caught in the current of a fear-based ripple, if we fail to turn towards its source, continuing to create ripples to maintain momentum from the same space, then all that moves from it will maintain the source. So here is where radical responsibility steps in. To see fully and to shift consciously is how true change happens. And unfoldings that appear deceitful are merely a product of this natural process, a call inwards. And now the third layer, I'm just gonna keep reading it because honestly, I love writing and I like the way that I weave the words on these pages. So I recognized an off feeling in certain aspects of the situation were clearly not in alignment with what I truly desired, but I settled because I felt it was good enough, and that better was out of my reach. Many things about the first place felt in dissonance, as I explained before. And when I say that I didn't recognize that better was possible, part of me kind of didn't really even realize that you could have hot water out here in Thailand. I just kind of thought cold water was normal, and it wasn't until I talked to my friends and recognized that better is available, that hot water is possible, a cheaper cost is possible. So that opened up my perspective, opened up my horizons. But even after learning this, I felt bad to address the issue. I did not want to upset anyone. A block that I tend to face, where my initial reaction template is to avoid the uncomfortability of conflict by not voicing how I actually feel. A fear-driven surrender. It's like a false, empty surrender. I feel like sometimes we talk so much about like surrender, and I feel like there's the dark and the light side to everything, you know? I have experienced mislabeling surrender as just kind of silencing myself and just accepting things as they are, as settling, like mistaking settling as true surrender, and that's not it. So in this situation, it wasn't a true surrender. It was just like, let me just settle to avoid my uncomfortability. So a fear-driven surrender is submitting to an undesired narrative, all to avoid discomfort, to avoid the residual imprints of the past that may be triggered through circumstances that resemble the deeper dynamics, aka to trigger the uncomfortability, the feelings that I have felt in the past when I was younger, all these like imprints, these patterns that I carry with me of a dissonant echo. It's just a very poetic way of saying it. I like poetry and I like to make things sound beautiful. Yeah, ironically, that which resists persists. So by avoiding, I actually allow that which I wish to release to be maintained. So it's a continual practice of recognizing this pattern of reaction and consciously choosing to shift it, to take responsibility, to respond, which is what I did. I often notice the tendency within myself to just settle for circumstances because I just don't want to have to stir the pot to piss anybody off, you know, and that's just not the way to be if you actually want to live the life that you desire. You have to learn how to be okay with upsetting people. There's probably a shift in frame. I just accidentally kicked my tripod. So we're back. Yeah, to truly be an alchemist, you have to really fucking dive into every experience. And I know many people will think, man, it's not that deep. And you can say that. That's okay. You can live life how you want to live, but I truly think everything has depth if you choose to dive into it. And I'm here to do that. Like, I am here to learn, to dive into every experience, all of it, and I really enjoy it. Like, I truly do. I find it to be one of the most beautiful parts of life, and through this whole process, I have learned so much about myself and I have made so much change. And we can all do this. Like, we can recognize the teacher in everything, and it makes our life so fucking rich. Like, not monetarily rich, well, maybe, like, it actually does hold the potential to create monetary wealth, but I mean, like, rich in like in more of like a nice dark rich chocolate. But anywho, this is one part of alchemy. I do want to say I feel like there are multiple layers to it. Understanding is so important, but also there's another deep layer of actually taking responsibility for the lessons that you're learning, because we can get caught in a cycle of just reflecting but not actually doing anything with the reflections that we're learning. And this is the integration phase, and it requires responsibility. To actually make change in your life, you need to understand and to act from that understanding. So perhaps this is just a part one, and we can dive more in the future, but I'm gonna wrap this up and get some food. Yeah, shy. Thank you for listening. I just want to say that I really hope you recognize how precious, like truly precious, your energy is and how you spend it. So for you to have spent your precious time and energy witnessing this here, me and what I am sharing and expressing on here, it really does mean a lot to me. So thank you so much, and I hope you have a beautiful day, beautiful life, beautiful night, beautiful, whatever it is, enjoy.